So, have you recently experienced a crisis of faith? If so, that may have been the result of Jupiter being retrograde. I like that Stephen Forrest, the great astrologer, says that Jupiter can represent a maintenance of faith. So, when it's retrograde, we can have a crisis of faith. And Lord knows, with everything happening in the world, especially if you're in the Western Hemisphere of the United States, there's a lot to have a crisis of faith about these days in the collective. So maybe that's happened for you. Maybe you're having it experience internally on the inside. Maybe it's both. Maybe you're struggling with your faith in the divine, in God, higher power, higher source over these past few months because of multiple things happening in your personal and professional life, in addition to everything we're seeing unfold in the collective, especially around the e-files. I've had a few conversations where people we've been shaken to our core by the horror that has been revealed to us. And I know for myself, I understood, I knew a lot of these things were happening. I just didn't know the level of detail and the magnitude of how horrific all of this abuse was. Um, but we also currently have Pluto in Aquarius, which is breaking down structures. And a part of that is we have to face the ugly truth of what we haven't been seeing. Um, and we have to sit with it. And I think part of that was Jupiter being retrograde, helping us see the magnitude, in this case, the abundance of what was horrible and outright, well, I'm going to say it, outright evil. Um, Often we think of Jupiter as abundance in the positive, more money, more love, and it can definitely have that. But I also think sometimes Jupiter can show us an abundance of what we have in the negative as well. And if it does that, it's because Jupiter is asking us to face it and correct it, to alchemize, to integrate. And so it's going to be a long haul, the aftermath of the e-files. And we're really just beginning to scratch the surface. We're still in eclipse season. Who knows what's going to unfold over the next few weeks, few months, the rest of this year. I am recording this about a week or so ahead of time before Jupiter stations direct. So if there is something major that's broken between now and then, that's why I'm not referring to it. But it was something I've been sitting with as I thought about preparing for this message for all of you. If you're new, I'm Darice. This is Moon Life Illuminated, where I talk about the astrology transits, usually the major ones, and how we can apply it both to our internal spiritual growth and also how you can use it to develop yourself either in your personal projects and your business, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to live your mission. That's what I like to do. I like to help people do that. But I also like to help people navigate these challenging, darker emotional waters. I have a gift for being able to calm people down. And this is definitely a time where people need to feel our feelings, number one, because by feeling our feelings, we can actually stay present, stay on our bodies. And then from that space, we can begin to find solutions, to think critically, to step back and see the bigger picture. So I'm not sure where you are in that space in this journey right now. And wherever you are, it's perfect for you. There is no right or wrong way to do any of this. But what I wanted to reflect upon is now that Jupiter is going direct, this is a good time to look at what the last few months have been like for you. I might be looking at my notes as well. So Jupiter station retrograde November 11th, 2025, and it's turning direct March 10th. So in those past few months, what have you learned about abundance in terms of maybe your finances, your ability to attract or retain wealth, retain money? Um, where have you learned about abundance in the negative? Did you experience something in the negative on a massive scale? And what did that teach you? How have your relationships been impacted by that? Your relationships, both to romantic partners, work colleagues, clients, your relationships to yourself, your body, your relationship to food, money. These are things to reflect upon as Jupiter turns direct. We also have Venus in Aries that day, sextiling Pluto in Aquarius, which is kind of interesting. I talked about earlier how Venus in Aries can be about negotiating the inner feminine or the yin, and negotiating that with the inner masculine, the yang, the yin and the yang inside of us. And I think as we look at the collective fallout around the e-files, that's definitely a big part of it too. Looking at our understanding of the masculine and the feminine, the unhealed masculine, the unhealed feminine, where that needs to be healed and how to come to terms with it, and all against the backdrop of Pluto and Aquarius, destroying structures so that we can build new ones that are healthier for all in the long term. My intuition is that this is a big part of that process as things begin to unfold and come to light over the next few weeks, over the next few months, and throughout the year, especially as we move closer to the midterm elections in the United States. These conversations are probably only going to intensify and amplify. Like Jupiter can amplify things in that respect as well. And so the question is, where do you want to sit with this for yourself? How do you want to integrate your own inner masculine, your own inner feminine? And then how do you want that to be expressed in your relationships with abundance? Excuse me. What do you want to experience more abundance in now that Jupiter is direct? Where do you want to grow emotionally, mentally, spiritually? We can use Jupiter being direct to tap into those energies, to bring those things to light for ourselves. Just sit with the question. And it's okay if you don't have answers. Sometimes it's better to be in the unknown. I was working with someone recently who was in that void where she's accomplished a lot and she's not sure what she wants to do next. She hasn't really received the guidance yet from the divine, from spirit, about what her next steps are. And sometimes being in the void, that can be a very beautiful and precious place to be. Um, because you're at that point where really all possibilities are open in front of you. And to a certain extent, we're all always at that point where we have infinite possibilities unfolding before us. And sometimes it's just as simple as relaxing and taking a breath and just acknowledging that, having the awareness that nothing is actually set in stone. Too often, we decide that this is just how it's going to be, this is how it's always been, and it can never change. But I prefer to be a radical optimist. I prefer to believe that anything is actually possible. And I think it's possible for our country and our communities to eventually heal from everything that is being revealed now in the e-files. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It could take years, but I'm in it for the long haul. And I want to believe that it's possible. I want to believe that when we come up against really hard stuff, that it's because we're supposed to come together and work together and change things to actually make it different. But a big part of it starts with having the belief, the faith that is about that. And I love that Stephen Forrest reminds us that Jupiter is about the maintenance of faith. This is a time to pray for, to ask for, to just simply choose that we have an abundance of faith. So I hope that you will join me in that. And this is pretty short. That's basically all I have today. Do want to remind you about all of my offerings. I have my Skool community. I'll have a link down below, $9 a month or $50 a year. I have my 30-minute witness and use session for $30. It's a chance for me to work with you one-on-one and help reflect back to you the truth of yourself and your soul and what's possible for you. That is a shorter version of my 90-minute You Illuminated session. So you get a taste of it and then decide if you want to work with me more to do that. And I also have my PDF, How to Create Your Content Planning in 30 Minutes. I teach you how to do that using the phases of the moon. There'll be the link down below to that as well. And remember to take care of yourself. We're going through really hard times, historical times, life-changing times, but that always means that we need to remember to do the basics. Stay hydrated, get fresh air, exercise, take walks, spend quality time with your friends, your family, your loved ones, play with your kids, be present in the moment, and always remember to breathe, be in your body, be present, and always remember to honor the light within you.